It is indeed the first Wednesday of 2023, and it's Webber's Wednesday. Time to look at North Devon's housing market with Malcolm Prescott, Managing Director of Webber's. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Laura. Hope you're well.
Yeah, all good, thank you. I'm wondering how many families sat around all together, cramped in living rooms over Christmas, thinking we need to be moving house. We haven't got enough room.
Well, do you know what? That's an interesting point you make there. I mean, January as a time to sell. All the research shows in recent years, particularly since we've had the big national portals like On the Market and Rightmove and the like, there is a huge surge in people looking at property, believe it or not, on Boxing Day.
Okay.
There is a huge spike. And traditionally, if you go back a few years, we would always say to clients, hold the property, don't launch until after Christmas in the new year. But now what we're saying to people is actually you need to be on the market over Christmas, because all the research shows us that people who have their nice new handheld device for Christmas will be sat there on Boxing Day looking for property. So therefore January is actually a good time to be in the market, probably before Christmas, and that's really what we've been saying to people now for a few years, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's like most things, isn't it? Things, your house might not look as nice in the winter months. If you're thinking about having photographs taken of the garden or, your street view type image, it's dark and it's dreary. So what can we do to make our homes look a little nicer and more desirable at this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point that you make, because the reality is that first impressions still do count. And really all of our marketing today relies quite heavily on having exceptional imagery. For social media, for websites, for our brochures, people really do respond well to great photography. And in fact, many buyers will be honest to say they don't actually read an awful lot on the brochure. What they tend to do is it where I want to be? Has it got enough bedrooms? Is it the right price? And how does it look? So really, it is important to make sure that the outside of your property is looking at its best. The inside, is it worth staging the property? Yes, it is. I do think that it's worth doing all of these things. And I say to people that when you give us your property to sell, you're essentially putting this in our hands, and we're going to perhaps make some demands. And one of them is, if you were selling your car tomorrow, you'd wash it, polish it, clean it, hoover it, and make it look its best. And really, that's exactly what we need to be doing with our properties, and staging the living room to make it look like a warm and inviting place to be, and the kitchen. It's all, sensible things to do when you're selling a property, no doubt at all.
It sounds quite daunting as well, though, doesn't it? Because we're sitting there in our living rooms or our dining rooms or kitchen with stuff all over the worktops, and we see all these pictures on the website of estate agents, and we're thinking, where do they put all their stuff? Because they're so clean and tidy, aren't they?
Honestly, I can think of many a time I've been to properties and I've said to the client, look, if you wouldn't mind just leaving me to take some photographs, and they walk back into the kitchen 20 minutes later and where's my stuff gone? Yeah.
So you tidy as well. So you do the cleaning and tidying.
Well, the truth is, to have clear work surfaces and what have you, it is important. So we've got to take that responsibility. That's why we're salespeople. We need to take control of that environment and to advise people. And yeah, we do need to do a little bit of that, I'm afraid.
It's you don't need to apologise to us, because you've basically given yourself an extra job now. People will have you around tidying and cleaning and taking photos. They'll add to your list.
The other thing that I would mention that I think is really good advice for people is think about why you bought the property. What was it that made you say yes to this property? Was it the fact that it was close to the village school? Was it because it was in a quiet location and you can hear the birds sing in the morning? Was it because you can see the sunset, over the bay? And make sure your agent, and importantly, the people that are seeing your property, understand why you bought it, because that could be the very reason that you will sell your property. So have those sort of top three reasons why you bought the property firmly in your mind to pass that on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good advice. Thank you for that. Now, over Christmas as well, you say like now is the best time to be on the market. But has the market itself slowed down in North Devon over Christmas because our minds have been full of so many other things?
Yep. I think it's fair to say that, yes, the market has been a little quieter. Personally, I believe that we've moved back into a more seasonal market. And what I mean by that is that during the pandemic years, when we had this mad marketplace where people were so determined to buy and buy quickly, we almost lost the seasonal side of the market, and people just continued to buy all the way through. There weren't any quiet months. I think now we've moved back to a slightly more seasonal market where the start of the year will perhaps be a little quieter, and we'll build back up to March, April, May, June, which will be the busier months, and perhaps a slight dip in the summer when people are on holiday, and then away you go again, end of August, September, October, and then perhaps a little quieter again in Christmas. I feel that we've moved back to what I would describe, and I said this in my last conversation with you, Laura, It's about normalising. It's the normal market that we're back to. But I still see that it will be a good market, just normal.
Yeah, so those that have their houses on the markets at the moment shouldn't be disheartened by the fact that they haven't sold or been swept up straight away.
No, definitely not at all. And I think here's another tip. Any agent should be able to tell a client what the viewing to sell ratio is at any time. In other words, how many viewings does it take to sell a property? So in a really, really busy market, it can be down as low as 5 or 6 to 1. Whereas in a slow market, it could be as high as 17 or 18 to 1. At the moment, for us, it's somewhere around 10 to 1. So on average, 10 viewings to sell a property. So if I had a house on the market and only had 3 or 4 viewings and no offers, I wouldn't be getting too upset. If I'd had 15 or 20 viewings, I'd be saying, hold on a minute, something's wrong here. We need to review why that is. So looking at the view to sell ratio, I would say to anyone out there, have a chat with your agent about that, because it's quite an important thing to know. So yeah, I would certainly think about that. And the other thing I would remember is that if the market is a bit quieter, it's less stressful. We haven't got that urgency where people are having to take quick decisions because there are 3 or 4 other people. So I would say it's probably a market which is a little easier to move, a little less stress, and so one could argue perhaps a nicer time to move.
Yeah, I wonder how many people moved during the pandemic that didn't really take into consideration a lot of factors with the houses that they bought, but they were just so desperate to get it quickly before somebody else, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to being into a much more normal marketplace.
Yeah. While I've got you as well, there was something in the news late last week about first-time buyer numbers dropping significantly across the country since the mini-budget late last year. So, I mean, we know here in North Devon it's a desirable place. Lots of people struggle to get onto the property ladder in the first place, don't they? But what advice can you give to somebody hoping to jump onto the property ladder in 2023?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say is information is critical. Understanding the process, understanding what happens if, understanding that part of the process. In other words, the financials is so important if you're going into a purchase of this nature. It's important to remember, as far as I can see, looking at our office network, that there are still first-time buyers out there that didn't find a suitable property last year, and they are still looking now. But I would say, and I'll give you a little anecdotal story of a young couple that I dealt with some years ago. And honestly, I don't think it's any different today. This couple were looking for a 2-bedroomed modern starter home with a small garden. The truth is, at that time, I wasn't able to show them anything in their price range. And I remember sitting down with them and saying, look, I think you're going to have to cut your cloth accordingly. And I think that you're going to have to look at an apartment. Now, I know that's not what you want, but it's going to get you on the ladder.
Yeah.
And I feel that the most important thing for you at the moment is to get onto the ladder and get yourself a home of your own. So